Daily Fluent English. Budget travel tips.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Daily Fluent English. I'm your host, Olivia, and today we're diving into a topic that many of you have requested: budget travel tips. Today's content will help you develop essential travel vocabulary in English while learning practical phrases for negotiating prices, booking accommodations, and navigating transportation options. Travel is one of life's greatest pleasures, but it doesn't have to break the bank. With some planning, flexibility, and the right language skills, you can explore the world without emptying your wallet.
Main content.
My passion for budget travel began during my university years when I had a strong desire to see the world but very limited funds. I remember staring at my bank account after paying tuition and wondering how I could possibly afford to travel. My first budget travel experience was a solo trip across Southeast Asia with just $2. For 2 months. With careful planning and stepping outside my comfort zone, I not only made it work but returned home with money left over. The first key to successful budget travel is flexibility with dates and destinations. For my Southeast Asia trip, I used flight comparison websites and discovered that flying midweek was significantly cheaper than weekend flights. I learned valuable English phrases like, "What's the best rate you can offer?" And, "Are there any discounts available for longer stays?" For accommodation, I chose hostels, guest houses, and homestays instead of hotels. In Thailand, the first stayed in a family-run guest house for just $8 per night including breakfast. Learning to ask questions like, "Do you offer weekly rates?" Or, "Is breakfast included?" in English saved me considerable money. Transportation offered another opportunity for savings. In Vietnam, the first traveled from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City using overnight trains and local buses, spending about a quarter of what organized tours would have cost. Phrases like, "Which platform does the train depart from?" and "Does this bus stop at the night market?" became essential vocabulary. For food expenses, I made it a rule to eat where locals eat. In Malaysia, I discovered vibrant night markets with a variety of dishes for just a few dollars. Asking, "Where do you recommend for inexpensive local food?" often led to hidden culinary gems. Technology has become invaluable for budget travelers. I used apps to find last-minute accommodation deals, locate free walking tours, and connect with travel communities. In Barcelona, I joined a language exchange event through an app, which provided a free activity and introduced me to locals who shared insider tips. Budget travel isn't without challenges. In Prague, I arrived at my hostel to find they had double-booked my bed. I had to quickly negotiate a solution, asking questions like, "Is there another property you can recommend?" This highlighted the importance of advocating for yourself in English during unexpected situations. Over the years, my approach has evolved. While I still look for ways to save money, I now focus more on value than on finding the absolute cheapest option. The key is prioritizing what matters most to you while finding creative ways to save on less important aspects of your trip.
Conversation example.
Hey Morgan, I heard you just got back from a 3-month trip around Europe. That must have cost a fortune.
Actually, I did the whole trip for about $4,000, including flights. I've gotten pretty good at budget travel over the years.
Wow, that's impressive. How did you manage to keep costs so low?
It's all about priorities and planning. First, I traveled during shoulder season, September through November, when flights are cheaper and there are fewer tourists. I saved about 30% on flights just by avoiding the summer months.
That makes sense. What about accommodations? Hotels in Europe can be really pricey, right?
I rarely stay in hotels. I used a mix of hostels, budget guest houses, and homestays. In more expensive cities like Amsterdam and Paris, one stayed in hostels with shared rooms, which were around $25.30 per night.
I'm not sure how I feel about sharing a room with strangers. Was it awkward?
It can be at first, but hostels are actually great places to meet other travelers. In Budapest, I met a group that shared the cost of a food tour with me, which made it much more affordable.
What about food? Eating out for every meal must add up quickly.
I had a rule that I would only eat out once a day. Many accommodations included breakfast, and for lunch, I'd grab something from a local market. When I did eat out, I asked locals where they go, not the tourist spots.
Did you find language barriers to be a problem?
Sometimes, but having some basic phrases in the local language really helps. I always learn how to say, "Can you recommend an affordable restaurant?" And, "What's a fair price for this?" Even if you're not fluent, locals usually appreciate the effort.
What about transportation once you're in a city?
I almost never take taxis. I research public transportation before arriving and usually get a multi-day pass. Walking is also great. You discover so much more of a city on foot.
Were there any splurges or things worth spending extra on?
Budget travel isn't about depriving yourself. It's about spending intentionally. I occasionally splurged on unique experiences like a cooking class in Barcelona, but balanced these with free activities like hiking and museum days. I hope today's episode has equipped you with useful vocabulary and practical tips for discussing and planning budget travel in English. Whether you're preparing for an upcoming trip or simply dreaming about future adventures, these language skills will help you navigate travel situations more confidently and economically. Until next time, this is Olivia from Daily Fluent English, wishing you happy and budget-friendly travels. Take care!